Vanessa Amorosi, welcome back to Australia for you. How long are you here for?
It's going to be 2 months, and then I'll head back to the States for a couple of weeks and then back out here for another month. It's wonderful.
Well, it's an exciting year for you, isn't it? A brand new album. There's lots of live dates. Let's talk about the new album firstly, City of Angels, because this is a self-produced album. Is this the first time you've been behind the desk and actually produced?
I have always been heavily involved in all that stuff, but never took titles. So this is the first record where I'm taking titles. Actually, the record that I did with Dave Stewart, I was co-producer with that. Yeah, this is the first one where it's just solely resting upon my shoulders to get it right. And it's, I don't know, I'm very, very proud of this record. Very proud.
Well, the title itself, City of Angels, of course, being Los Angeles, where you live these days. Is it specifically a Los Angeles-centric album?
No, no way. No way. No, it's like literally using everything I've picked up over the last 20 years as a musician, everything I've experienced is in this record. And I've traveled the world my whole life. I haven't stopped. City of Angels is just kind of referencing the city that I made it in within the studio. But in saying that, with the pandemic, everything was overline. Like, everybody's working in their own studios. We're all flying things back and forth. I mean, one of the songwriters that I wrote a lot of the songs with, Tony Featherston, he's Melbourne based. So we're working different time together, flying ideas back and forth. The same with, like there's many, many studios in Los Angeles that are all different people from all around the world. And it just seems to be a little bit of a hub. But I do find now, especially with the last 2 years, everything's online. Like, you can be literally working with anybody around the world. So you're collecting bits and pieces from everybody's city and from everybody's life experience, and it kind of contributes to the overall flavor of whatever you're doing at the time. So this record, I think, is very solely based on my 20 years of learning and what I gravitate to, what I love to do, and the things I've experienced.
Explain how it fits in with the trilogy.
So with the trilogy, I came out here last year and was attempting to try and connect with everybody and tour the first 6 songs that I dropped. That tour ended up not happening because Melbourne went into a lockdown after that. And I did have a plan, but none of those plans worked because of the environment that we were all in musically. So now it's just a case of, I wanted the full piece of art together, it to make sense, and everybody to experience that journey now with this record. So there was a plan, but it just didn't happen the way I wanted it to, just because the world just kept continuing with lockdowns and madness. So I remember, like, going back to LA, I was going to do a gig with Dave Stewart, and I think it was at the Grammy Museum. And we did the rehearsals and everything. And then the day of the gig, Dave calls me and says, hey, everything's shutting down. Like, flights are getting cancelled. The whole world is locking down because of this virus. And so the gig's not going to happen tonight. And I remember that conversation being like, it'll probably only be like a couple of weeks, and then we'll just reschedule it and we'll go back out there. And the couple of weeks just kept being a couple of weeks, a couple of months, couple of more months, and now we're 2 years later. Crazy.
Absolutely incredible. You've got a couple of guests on here, Lena, Byrd Miles and Anthony Evans. So we're talking about a real blues sound and a real gospel sound here. Is, their position on the album to take you further in those directions?
No, these are 2 artists that I just love. I love them. I mean, Anthony Evans, his vocal is out of this world. His tone up that top register for a male, he can sing so high. And the tone of it, there's so much mids and so much rich, full body to it. Because normally as you get higher in your vocal range, it gets thinner, but not for this guy. So for me, I've just, listening to him sing I could listen to that all day. And then you've got Lena Byrd Miles, who is also a gospel singer, but her scatting and improvisation is genius. It's like you hear a lot of jazz notes in it, and then it goes to a, you know, like a normal gospel scale. And these are two artists that inspire me and that are exciting. And they're so incredible as singers. And then on top of that, as people, that was so easy to work with. Like, it was so much fun. It was wonderful to be able to like have them send fly vocals back and forth and have those conversations with them on, you know, we don't want to peak too early. We want it to build. We want it to feel good. We want to blend, you know, like it's interesting, especially with the Anthony Evans sings. We're two very big singers, and to make that work without it being too overwhelming, that's a mission. And to not peak too early, because, you know, explosive, you want to explode out of the gate, and it's like, no, you've got to like simmer and idle to that. And then you've got Lena, who can just literally do these runs that are so fast. It's like a sprint marathon, and then to meet together and then kind of get back to the melody and then sprint together. So I don't know, I'm very grateful that I got to work with them and put them on this record that I'm so proud of. But then in saying that, I mean, they're just incredible, out of this world artists.
It's incredible, isn't it, when you consider the origins of where you began when you were still a teenager, and the pop songs that were happening back then, like Absolutely Everybody and Shine and Have a Look, to think that you've now evolved to something that is pretty much a serious blues singer in a lot of ways.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know the beginning of how I started, but I did all of this stuff in the beginning. This has always been my preference of music, and that I've always gravitated to. So it wasn't like something that developed later on in life. It was there, like the counter melodies and Have a Look. Baby, what you thinking now, baby? Three-part harmonies, that's a gospel arrangement. It just is. Then you've got, you know, Absolutely, which is, of course, there's 4 ranges in that. Then you've got Pray for Love. You've got The Power. Shine, don't you do it. All counter melodies. You can add a choir to that. It all works. So it's always been there, and it's just where we placed it. It was never something that was brought forward. It was centered back. It was more about a pop thing. And then even before even making that record as a kid, I was in rock bands. I was doing Tool. I was doing Primus. I was doing Alanis Morissette. And then I was also working in a Russian club, and I was doing worldly music. I was singing different languages. Like, so before even touching upon writing a pop record, there were so many other things I was doing. And I remember the conversation as a youngster being, what are you? Who are you as an artist? It makes no sense to put you in a rock band and have you as a rock singer when you're the country chick, you know, that is like 14. It makes no sense. And then vice versa, when I was making that pop record, I wanted to have these massive vocal moments, these massive big choruses. And it was like, oh, that, you know, you're this small young kid, does it quite make sense? So it was always like trying to find where it is that would have people going, okay, yes, that's her. But essentially behind the scenes, I was still doing every other style of music. It just was never heard. So it's 20 years. And over those 20 years, I mean, I still write a bunch of different stuff even to this day, but I always seem to find myself back in this spot, writing soul, gospel. I mean, I love blues. I don't think that'll ever stop. Even when I genre off and do some stuff that's in different genres, I always come back here.
Well, I guess that must make it easier to adapt the early days and the poppier sounds into the set list of today. Is it a simple matter of putting a set list together? I mean, how do you decide what stays in, what doesn't stay in? Because you've had so many hit songs.
It's tricky, and it always depends on what the audience is gravitating to. And the good thing is that I've been with my bass player. I started with him as a kid. We've literally done every show together since I was a kid and he was a kid, and we've traveled the world together. So he knows the history. He's experienced the history. We've been together forever. And so when we hit a stage, we can pretty much just look at each other and know what it is we have to do in order to keep the audience captivated. And we've done so many different styles of shows in different countries as well. So I feel like because we have such a good connection and a good communication and have had years being together on the road doing shows, we're able to adapt the show as we go. So if I'm doing one of these big outdoor gigs that I did on the weekend, if the audience is not staying with us, we can literally like just swing things around, make the arrangement a little bit different, accelerate it in certain areas so that we can keep the energy, because that's what it's about. You want to party with the crowd. You don't want to like be partying, but they're just disconnected. Like, oh yeah, well, not this song. I don't like this one. Or, oh, I'll join you on the next one. So it's kind of wonderful in that perspective. And because he knows all of those songs, I'm just very lucky, very blessed. And he's the MD, so it makes it really good. I just give him the look and then he has to communicate it, where we are going. I can give little signals and everybody's like, okay, cool. All right, we get it. Wow. So it's fun.
So you can actually adapt a set list on the fly then?
Absolutely. Yeah. And if there's songs that are more obscure that happened, 18 years ago, 15 years ago, me and him have most likely done those songs. So we're able to just kind of like, we've got some acoustic shows that are coming up, and that's going to be pretty much like sitting in the lounge room with me. We'll be able to go wherever the hell we want to. There's no rules. And I like this because if someone does bring up something that's more obscure that we haven't done, I'll just sit there, me and him, and we can nut and bolt it right in front of you. Like I'm kind of excited to do these more intimate audiences just because we have a lot of stories because we've been on the road forever. And I've got a record where I really have to sing. Like these songs aren't going to be just sitting there mapping through vocals. These are songs where I actually have to deliver a decent vocal or it's not going to sound any good. And then on top of that, I've got the past songs where I feel like they took their own journey with everybody and we can literally step back in time and relive those moments. So I don't know. I'm pretty lucky. I'm very blessed.
Mm. You have done a lot of work with Dave Stewart, as you mentioned before. Does Dave also, sort of fit into your career as not just a collaborator, but also a mentor?
Oh, he's absolutely been a mentor. He's the one that gave me the courage to stop thinking there were rules. My whole life I was like, there's rules, there's formulas. We must stick to the formulas. And Dave is he's just incredible. Like there are no rules. And he's right. There isn't. Like there's no structure. Like whether it connects with somebody, you can't say whether you've got the formula to that or not. What is a hit? What is something that connects emotionally to people or that relates to them at this very moment in this way of living that we have? So he definitely set me straight in how there just isn't any rules, and art is art, and you have to be excited and passionate about it. It has to be real. It can't be what you think people want to hear or what you think people are going through. You actually have to go through it. You have to experience that.
Mm. Have you ever done a Eurythmics song with him?
Absolutely. Many, many times. I've been on the road with Dave. Yeah. My favorite one would be, there's so many of them. Would I Lie to You? Don't mess with a missionary man. That one's pretty amazing. I mean, oh God, he has so many hits. There's so many hits.
Well, good to catch up with you. And as we said, fans can see you right around Australia over the next 2 months.
Yeah. Thank you so much. And yeah, thank you so much for listening to the new record. And yeah, it's a good time in life right now.